My guest today for our Think Like a Designer series is Gabriela Eisenhart, founder of Silo Studio Design in Atlanta. We cover a lot of bases in this conversation: finding inspiration for a wow moment in a kitchen, how to use color in a mostly neutral living room. Actually, the color thing with neutrals is runs throughout the episode. Mixing heavy and light layers to create a serene bedroom. What to do with that empty area you may have on the second floor landing, and the biggest bang for your buck when you're trying to outfit a home or a room that has no obvious architectural style. In other words, maybe it's a builder grade shell and you want to personalize it and give it some character. And like all of the Think Like a Designer episodes, you can follow along on YouTube and see the photos we're referencing throughout the conversation, or just get the takeaways from listening on your podcast player of choice. All right, like I said, we cover a lot, so let's get started. Gabriela Eisenhart, welcome to the Slow Style Home podcast. I am really looking forward to chatting with you today.
Me as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to jump in and just start looking at your work. I want to talk about what emotions and experiences were you trying to evoke. This kitchen is incredible to me. It's got this huge wow factor. So let me just describe it for people who are just listening and not watching on YouTube. The cabinetry is this very light, whitish, almost natural wood color. The floor is got a black and white tile on it with a black area rug on the bottom. And then what you really are drawn to is the back wall. It's completely tiled from the counter up to the ceiling in what looks like hand tumbled tile, all in creams and whites, grays, that kind of thing. But not only is the entire wall tiled, the hood, the curved hood, is tiled all the way up to the ceiling as well. So it's just incredible. We've got these two sconces on either side of the hood. You've got floating shelves on one corner. Tell us a little bit about what you had in mind, what experience you were going for when you created this incredible kitchen.
Well, this is my kitchen. So if any design speaks my language, this one truly does.
How
And
fun.
yeah, this house is a traditional Tudor. It was built in the 80s and the kitchen needed a full gut. The kitchen was original to 1981.
Okay.
We have two sons. And we cook a lot, entertain a lot, but it also is separate to the home. It's not an open concept kitchen. So
Right.
I like that about it too. But I wanted to have fun with it. The curved hood really is where I started. I was sitting one night at dinner at a local restaurant that had like a curved pizza kitchen. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, pizza oven.
Yeah.
And they're tiled, traditionally Italian pizza ovens are
All
tiled. And I
right.
was just like, I just was staring at this and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
You have to have the right size tile to get, to fit the radius. And I was
Okay.
like, I don't want to see another standard hood. Let's do a curved hood. It will mimic all the archways in the home. And that's
Right.
where this hood started.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So is this also your home?
Yeah, this is the family room looking into the kitchen. So you're seeing another part of the kitchen you didn't see in that first picture.
Right.
And originally, this was a wall where you see the big archway from the living space into the kitchen. That was a wall, and I opened it up. I created an archway to mimic the original archways in the home.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
To
I love
give,
that.
yeah. And so, again, not an open concept. However, open enough where it makes sense for a busy family, like to flow throughout the home. And then I love an island, and I wanted to create an oval island to bring in the curvature of the hood and all the archways. And it feels nice there. It's not a huge island, but it works well for our needs.
What I'm noticing about it is the very, I don't want to say restricted, the very disciplined color palette. There's one piece of color in this little chair, this velvet green. I would say, what would you say, like a celery green or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
And there's also a painting on the wall, an abstract painting that has quite a lot of
yeah.
green in it. But otherwise, it's browns, whites, creams, blacks, some brass, and the green chair. I feel like what happens a lot when people do this, they go with all these neutral colors, and then they talk about adding a pop of color. We always hear that pop of color. And I feel like when that happens, sometimes it feels so over the top, like so like they're trying too hard. So if this
Yeah,
was like a hot pink or something,
it
it
would
would
not work.
feel, well, it would be different, right? It would be a
Yeah.
different person's home. It wouldn't be your home.
Yeah.
But it would feel like, wow, that was so really trying to say, hey, look at me, I've done a pop of color. Whereas I feel like this, because it's a tone that really comes from the natural world, it just sort of slides in a little bit of color. It doesn't scream at you.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. I believe that green is a neutral.
Okay.
Like I put it in when we're looking at a neutral color palette, which is what I'm drawn to and what I
Hmm.
tend to do. And honestly, I do have colorful spaces too, but for me personally, I really, really love a neutral color palette that feels very calm. So if I'm bringing in a color, it's often green, or you'll see a lot in my work, a lot of just greenery through plants and trees
Yeah.
and nature. And I love
Yeah.
that too. Yeah,
And
it
you've got
flows.
that in this photo. You've got it just in this one angle. I see four different pieces of greenery of live living plants. And I think too, because you've got a lot of different textures going on, it certainly doesn't feel sterile at all, even though it's mostly neutrals. It feels quite warm and quite inviting.
I know, and I think that's a big misconception of neutral color palettes is that they fall flat and that they
Yeah.
feel sterile.
And just to point out, again, for those that aren't listening, or even if you're just looking at the picture, so the bar that's like she said, it's oval. It's got, what would you call that? It's
That's a re
ribbed.
it yeah, it's called a reading. It's a reeded wood. The whole
Oh,
kitchen
reed
has
it
it.
wood.
Yeah.
So we've got
Yeah.
that texture going on. We've got the wool rug, but then we've got this fabulous yarn stool. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally looks like a ball of yarn. You've got the brass, you've got the texture that's going on in the pillows, and also the sideboard that's underneath the painting is got a caned front to it and sides to it. So there's a lot of pattern going on and texture.
Right. Yeah, pattern in an unassuming way, right?
Right.
So, yeah, and I love brass. Like I love patinaed brass. I think it's stunning, and I'm always incorporating that into the space for my metals and my finishes. And
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I think you named it all these little subtle elements.
And depth. I mean, it's like you said, it's
Yeah.
not at all flat. Let's keep going to some other photos. This bedroom is another great example. Yes, it's monochromatic, but when you really, when you walk in, you don't feel like anything is flat. You feel this sense of release, I think. And I mean, I would love to wake up in this every morning. Again, I'm going to describe it for people who are just listening and not looking. So there on the back wall where the bed is this really funky wallpaper, which we'll talk about in a minute. Wood floors, wood side tables. The bed is got all kinds of linens going on, lots of different layers there. Another caned front piece of furniture. This time it's a wardrobe. There's a really nubby rug on the floor. So yes, it's all in creams and woods, browns, but it's incredibly layered. Tell us a little bit about the feelings you were going for in this room.
So you're picking all my spaces. This is my room. So
Okay.
I do get the pleasure of waking up in it every morning. I just need a serene environment. So
Okay.
that is what I was looking to create in this room. I started with this hand painted wall covering that you see. And
Okay,
I
tell
don't
us about that.
yeah, I don't know. I just felt I'm a huge fan of wallpaper, and I am a huge fan of a little bit of the unexpected. I like to have a little
Uh-huh.
fun. I like a
Uh-huh.
little edge. And this paper, I just loved the pattern, and it was hand painted, and I thought it was very unique. So we started with this, and it reads a little blush on the screen, but it's definitely more of a neutral with cream undertones. Layered it. I'm all about the layers. So if you look, let's just start with the windows. You've
Okay.
got to dress your windows, people. You cannot forget the windows. So we
Okay.
have a woven wood Roman shade that's framing the window to add texture, and then the draperies are made of a boucle fabric,
Ah.
which tends to, I mean, I broke the rules there. You're not really supposed to use such a heavy fabric for draperies,
Hmm.
but I have a wonderful relationship with my drapery people, and we made it work because it's hard to tell in the picture, but it's very heavy. So it didn't want to lay right at first, but the
Made it
wrist.
work with the pleating. I mean, first of all, I didn't know it was boucle. Boucle, for those of you who aren't aware, it's a bit kind of like a really nubby wool. And I think it's a great choice for a bedroom. I
I do
like
too.
the
Thank you.
heaviness. I mean, you know how like you want, those weighted blankets are really popular because
Yes.
people want to feel like, I don't know, that they're really cocooned. And so the
Yes.
heavy fabric, it makes total sense to me. And the fact that it's layered on top of the Roman shade, I mean, especially in a bedroom, yeah, let's put all the layers on the windows.
Yes.
So
Layer
anyway,
it.
yeah, keep going.
Okay. Love it. So then the bed is just a simple linen. So it's very lightweight fabric and layered all the beddings with linens and other fabrics. And the armoire that's pictured was something we had custom made for the
Oh,
space. So again, you're seeing that oak that you saw in the kitchen.
and the
No,
caning in the front, is there glass in there too, or is the caning open?
that's all. Yeah, no, it's open. It's really pretty tight woven caning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
More texture too, and more I mean, it's
Yes.
the subtle pattern. And I just want to mention that what I love about all the linens, the pillows and the bedding and everything, is that they're slightly different shades of
Yes.
ivories, and there, I mean, maybe even a little blush. I'm not sure, maybe that's just how
Yeah.
it's reading in the photo, but just mixing up your whites, I think that
Yes.
alone creates some depth.
Absolutely. It's so simple and you nailed it because, I actually like a very clean bedding, whether it be white or creams, but just switching the tones slightly will
Yeah.
create all that warmth and depth. So it doesn't feel like you're walking into like, a hotel and it's sterile.
All right, this room has, I think, a very different feel than the rooms we were looking at before. There's a lot of energy to it. It looks very collected over time because we're looking at a gallery wall with a mirror in its center and a cool lamp with a little tiny, I don't know, side table underneath it and a chair. And I don't know, it just feels, and a funky, like there's a funky ceiling light, but then there's also the table
Yeah.
lamp. And there's just, this feels a little bit more funky to me, I guess I would
Yeah.
say, but
Yeah.
it still has a lot of neutrals. There's
Yeah.
some color in the artwork, but talk to us about what's going on in this moment and how did you curate this little space inside what I presume is a much larger room?
Yeah, so this is actually like a landing hall at the top of the stairs, right? So
Oh,
a space,
cool.
spaces that kind of get left behind if they're not thought
Yeah.
about, but such a great place to incorporate a moment like this.
Yeah.
And I love vintage pieces. I love making them relevant in a space, making them work with more modern elements.
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan of vintage brass lamps. You get them, you put a new shade on, and it total new life.
I
And
agree.
then the hanging pendant was a really cool mid-century piece I had found on my hunt, one
It's
of my
sculptural.
weekend
It might as
hunts.
well be part of the artwork, right? I mean,
It's yes, and it
yeah,
lets off the coolest shadow at
I bet.
night. So it's
It's
a
got
really cool
holes all,
piece.
it's like ceramic and it's got holes in
Yes.
it. And I just, you said landing, and that this is a part of a landing, presumably upstairs, and
Yeah.
that you also have kids. And this is what I'm picturing. You're trying to get the kids to sleep at night. They finally go to sleep, but maybe one of them's still awake and you're not quite sure. You come sit in this chair in the dark
Right.
and you're
Yes.
just crossing your fingers, hoping and praying, please go to sleep, please go to sleep.
Holding your breath. Exactly. There's a use for the space.
But you've got this great space to do it in. Like it's a very adult grown-up space, which I also like. And I appreciate that. I always say to people, you don't have to give your entire home over to the kids. You can still have your style reflected in your home. Not everything has to be plastic and primary colors.
1,000% agree with
Yeah.
you. I do a lot of family homes and I deliver that message a lot because they're worried about investing in this or that. And it's not about spending a ton of money. It's just about living your life and enjoying your life. And your children are in your home for 18 plus years. Like,
Yep.
we're not going to wait for your home to have a personality for them to not run around with peanut butter hands. Like,
I
let's
agree.
start living now. And there's so many great ways to do it.
Yes. Yes. Claiming the space, I think and you definitely
Yeah.
claim the space. I mean, this could have been piled up with toys, but it's a
No.
very grown up space. And I think it also kind of shows kids that I hate to say it, but they're not always the center of the world, the universe,
No,
that mom and dad
exactly.
have a life too. I'm probably going to get some flack for saying that.
Whatever. I'm
What?
with you. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say now, like my kids, they're in their early teens, and I feel like they appreciate the environment they've grown up in.
Yes.
They
Yes.
appreciate it. So, I can see how they're keeping their space a certain way now because they connect with how their environment makes them feel. Um,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I think
Yes.
it's yeah, it's
That's
important.
awesome.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing about this before I go to the next photo,
Sure.
about the way in which you've composed the gallery wall. First of all, there are a couple of larger pieces on the wall, so it's not all really small pieces. And I think that variety helps give the wall some rhythm and helps the eye move a bit. I love that you got this circular mirror in the center of all of these right angles. I think that's a great way to break things up. And I've noticed that you've got 3 frames that are literally touching each other in the right-hand corner. And that in and of itself is just a really funky, cool way to hang some of the artwork. So just notice the variety of what's going on here is kind of the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and thank you for noticing that. I like how your mind works because it's all very intentional.
Sure.
You could see people map out how gallery walls are supposed to work for hours before they start to hang them.
Yep.
And if I'm hanging on a grid, sure, I'm
Right.
measuring, there's a precision, but when I'm doing an organic gallery wall like this, I love to
Yep.
just build it one piece at a time, stand
Yeah.
back, and keep going. I love this one too. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do.
Okay. Here's another bedroom. Tell us about how you dealt with these interesting windows. I mean, these are some
Yes.
challenging windows. So tell us
Mhm.
about that.
A lot of the newer builds can be very transitional, which
Meaning,
la transitional. So they're not modern, they're not traditional, they're
mhm,
transitional. So they're
yep.
they're marrying they tend to fall flat is
I
is
agree.
the
I was
way.
just going to
Okay,
say, I mean,
I don't know.
transitional is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah,
I feel it's more like,
hor
can't make up its mind kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, right. So when and there's a lot of those here in Atlanta.
Okay.
Clients don't always have the budget to fully do a renovation. So this is a perfect example of that. There was no renovation, but we have to give it personality,
Yeah.
depth, history somehow by just furnishing it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, these windows were huge. They're huge. And really investing in those custom window treatments makes the world of a difference.
Yeah.
We have again, a woven wood. It looks white, but if you were up close, it's this very textured woven Roman shade that I'm a huge fan of.
Hmm.
These drapes, those ceilings are at least 10 feet high. So
Oh,
those
yeah.
drapes, yeah, those drapes really draw the eye up, warm up the space. And this room's very eclectic. If you see, we have mid-century dresser there, a traditional wing-back chair. We have a jute rug layering over an actual carpet, which I'm not a huge fan of. But again, we didn't have the opportunity to get rid of that in this
Hmm.
space. And then bringing in like a vintage rug. So again, we're playing with patterns and textures and and the end story is, I think, very calming and nice.
And also, let's talk about the other window. There's not a lot of height to it, but it's really,
Yeah.
really long. So again, you needed a custom window treatment there.
Yeah, it's a very awkward window right
Uh-huh.
above the bed. And we wanted to filter out all the outside and just make it feel like its own cocoon.
It certainly does. It's a great way too to deal with this sort of cathedral, almost like a cathedral ceiling on one end of the bedroom, and then the more kind of the drop ceiling over the bed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that the window treatments have gone a long way. And what I guess what I want to emphasize here is that if you have one thing you can spend money on in this kind of room, it would be the window treatments. And I think a lot of people would
Yeah.
probably do that last.
Yes.
And yet really that's where the investment should be to make the architecture work.
Agree. I always tell clients it's lighting and window treatments. Let's
Okay.
start with that.
Absolutely. And honestly, especially if you can stick with neutrals or something that has a very kind of light pattern to it, and you
Yes.
go to a fabric store and you go to the discount section and you
Yes.
get the thing that has the biggest bolt, And so don't necessarily spend the money on the fabric, but spend the money on the person who makes the drapery. I mean, there are
Yes.
ways to kind of
Yes,
cut that.
I agree. There's ways to hack it, but have them custom made to fit your
Right.
windows perfectly.
Right. This is another kitchen, and what I think is so interesting here is it looks like it's on the second floor. There's a stairway that comes up into the kitchen area.
Yeah.
You've got another vintage rug, a runner going between the wall where the refrigerator is, probably the oven, and the island where the sink is. And it's
Mhm.
opening up into a living room that has, again, floor to ceiling curtains around this
Yeah.
gorgeous set of windows, paned windows, and got the brass going on in the mirror, and you've got some lights that kind of have woven shades. You've got this cool piece of artwork. I mean, there's just so much going on here, and yet it feels quite calm.
Yeah, well, so this too, this is actually the second level of the home with the bedroom you just
Oh,
showed.
okay, okay.
So it is a townhome, and that's why this is on the second floor. But again, transitional build, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't an option to completely gut the kitchen in this home and start fresh. So we had to facelift it.
Mhm.
And the way it was before, it was dark wood. We had counter bar height island, which is really awkward. So we took that down to be all counter height,
Yeah,
refinished the island, painted it this really nice warm beige color. But
right,
yeah, and I added paneling to the front just to give it just a little bit more detail and interest since we
right,
were working with like a prefab cabinet.
right, right.
But if you've noticed the base of the home, it's all white walls. And I'm not saying you have to paint all your walls white, but when a
Mm-hmm.
home flows like this from room to room,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nice base to the home because then your objects, your art, your lighting, your draperies, everything else has room to be its own moment.
Yeah. And when I look at this room and the previous bedroom, what's running through my mind is a lot of people who feel like I don't like clutter. I don't like, I'm not a maximalist. And a lot of people say, oh, I want the classic all white kitchen.
Hmm.
I guess what I'm feeling here is that I would not call this maximalist, nor would I call it bold. Like, you know, it's
Yeah,
so soothing, and yet there's still so much texture and there's quite a bit of color. And I
yeah.
think
There's
maybe
contrast.
there's contrast. Yes, okay,
Mhm.
that's what it is. It's contrast. And certainly the white walls do provide that. It doesn't at all feel boring to me. It doesn't feel unfinished. It doesn't feel like, oh, they just never got around to painting their walls. It feels
Yeah,
very intentional.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And like, even if you still want a white kitchen, there's nothing wrong with a white kitchen. It's just about how are we layering that? Our cabinetry, like, it can't be a stark white. It needs to be a
Yeah.
warmer white. And then maybe the walls are more of a stark white. Like, it's all about the slight layering.
Right, right. And like I said, even these pendants,
Yes.
because they're covered in sort of, well, what would you call that? You describe it.
It's a rope. And
Hmm.
exactly, like, I didn't want to pick a glass fixture in here because to me
Yeah,
that would feel cold and flat. So it's like, how
yeah,
am I going to warm up this space? We need to use something that has texture, something that's warm. So the rope, I love the rope lights.
yeah. Okay, so this is another little moment. And what I'm
Yeah.
seeing here, I wanted to point out that this got all the elements that I love. I talk about there being 5 elements that I think are in every slow styled home, if not every beautiful home. And they are antiques, which we've got right here. This looks like an old piano. We've got also this chair, looks like it's probably mid-century modern. We've got something that looks like some kind of kuba cloth or something, or mud cloth, maybe from Ghana. We've got nature in here with the plant. We've got a mix of metals. There's just all of the elements are coming together. And sometimes I get asked, how do you mix things like this together and not make it look like, a jumbled mess?
Yeah. You you don't overdo it. That's what I say because I'm such a collector myself and now I live in this home that's wonderful, but it's more minimal, so I have to be careful about how what I'm bringing into the home and this I think I mean you said it all. This space or this moment balances so well because we have, I'm just going to list everything. We have a
Yeah,
piano
please.
from the 1930s here that was an heirloom and needed to be kept in the home.
Hmm.
We have a mirror that is new but has an antique finish. So again, it's not feeling too overly modern. Then
Hmm.
we're bringing a mid-century modern chair in that was recovered in a leather. But again, like we didn't really refinish the wood on it to give it a little bit more of a worn look, which I
Hmm.
like. And
Hmm.
then we have that mud cloth, right? Exactly. That was found in a vintage store that just it gives it it's more eclectic. It gives it an eclectic flair. But I think again, I'm not a fan of rules and I don't want to be like, okay, you can only bring two,
Right.
two vintage pieces in a room and everything else has to be new.
Right. Right. I'm not a rule
Because
person either. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but in this moment, actually everything but the lamp and the mirror are vintage,
Uh-huh.
but this is just a moment in a larger room. So I think it's all about
Right.
balance. If you put all vintage pieces in a room, I don't think it always works. So I think it's about just making sure you have that balance and you're mixing, and then
Yeah.
that's what feels nice.
And let's talk about the composition for a minute. I mean, look at the negative space around the leather chair and how the angles of the mirror and the piano kind of cut into that negative space. And then you've got the curved lamp with the round shade. I mean, it's such a great composition.
Yeah, thank you. You have to have negative space so that things flow and that you can breathe in the space. And that's why I paint a lot of my spaces white, like my
Uh-huh.
bigger spaces,
Uh-huh.
just more room to have personality in the details.
Yeah. And you can see the silhouette of things too, which is really coming across in this photo.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to wrap up with another favorite topic of mine, which is getting inspiration from travel. And when we travel, well, when I travel, I seek out the coolest restaurants and hotels I can find. You designed this restaurant. I assume it's in Atlanta. What's the name of it?
Yeah. It's called Nino's.
Nino's.
Yeah.
And there are so many things I could take home from being in this space and then implement in my own home. So first, describe for us what's the vibe that the restaurant was going for, and so how did that
Yeah.
influence your specific design decisions?
Well, this story hits close to home. So Nino's is my family's restaurant. I grew up in this business.
Oh my gosh.
It's the oldest Italian restaurant in Atlanta. It opened in 1968. My dad retired a while back, and my sister took over the restaurant with her
Oh,
husband.
okay.
And we were traveling Italy, and we were back
Mhm.
home where my dad's from, and off of the Amalfi Coast in South Italy. And she's like, Gabby, I really want to open up a bar
Mhm.
that emulates where dad's from, the Amalfi
Yeah.
Coast. Fast forward, that's what happened, or that's how this bar came to be. So and we built it out about a year and a half ago. And it's connected to the original restaurant, but it's very different than the original restaurant. We wanted it to feel like you're stepping into our version of the Amalfi Coast.
Well, I assume
Um,
that starts with the tile. Let's talk about the tile first of all. The
yes,
whole bar
let's
is
do it.
tiled.
Yeah,
um
okay. I love my tile.
Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. And it feels like you're on, well, it feels like you're in Southern Italy on the coast. I mean, it
Yeah,
just has this
yeah.
freshness to it. So talk about how you chose the tile and that kind of thing.
Well, so there's a few factors. The budget was one of them, and
Yep,
Italian painted tile is very expensive. And a
sure.
lot of, if you're familiar with Amalfi Coast tile, we see a lot of it's blues, whites, and yellow.
Yep.
And something about the three together, it's too much for me. I have to eliminate one. So I found this blue and white tile. It was perfect. And it's not overwhelming because,
Well,
like you
especially because
said,
there's so much of it, right? I mean,
yes,
it's a very large
yes,
bar.
yes. So we brought in the traditional Amalfi Coast lemon pottery over there, the lemon
Yep,
bowls with the yellow, and we have the yellow upholstered benches to bring in that yellow so it all works
right.
together.
It
But it's
does.
not like it's not in your face, you know?
Oh, it's bright. The whole thing, it feels like, yeah, you want to have a limoncello while you're sitting there. I mean,
Yes.
it's really, really fun. I want to talk for a minute about these really cool sconces.
Yes.
So there's sconces on the bar. They're all white. They look like they're made out of plaster. What are they made
Yeah.
out of?
They are a plaster finish. They are. It is a plaster imperfectly perfect space. And
Mhm.
I love that about it. And again, they're there, but they're not in your face. And that was the
No,
goal.
the shape of them is so cool. And it made me think, and of course, this goes back to the very first kitchen we looked at, which was yours, where you've got sconces in the tile. And it looks so at home here that I think that's something you can miss if you're just glancing at the room. So that's why I really want to point it out. It's such a cool idea and definitely something that I think could enhance a lot of kitchens.
I think so too. It's all, you add those little elements that create depth. These lights, yes, they don't light up the whole room, but they light up just enough to
Yeah.
like evoke emotion and create warmth.
Right. Let's talk about the banquette now. So, like you said, it's
Yeah.
this kind of lemon, very cheerful yellow, but you've paired it with black chairs, black and white photos.
Mhm.
I love that the photo frames are gold above a yellow banquette, because a lot of people would say, "Oh, you can't mix those," but yes, you can. Look at this.
Yeah, you can
It's
do whatever you
you
want
can
as long as
do
it feels
Oh my
good.
gosh, I just love this. I love the way you've used color here. It's
Thank you.
restrained. It's one color and it looks great.
Thank you. And the picture wall, these are all family photos. So
I
when you're
assume.
seeing them, yeah, it's the history of the family, which I think just brings a lot of story to the space. And we wanted it to feel a little bit like it was hung by, your grandma, like there's no
Yeah,
rhyme or reason.
right, exactly.
You know?
But the fact that they're all black and white kind of unifies it and also
Yeah.
does not detract from the one yellow color that goes along the
Yes.
bottom third of the room. Now, this is another thing that I could picture using this as inspiration, taking it into a little eat-in kitchen area in someone's home. So why I say when you go to great restaurants or great hotels, pay attention to the design because you can steal stuff.
That's right. It's true. I mean, a well-designed boutique hotel, I am a sucker for it.
Yeah, me too. And then one last picture of the restaurant. So this it looks like a slightly different area, but you still got the yellow banquette going on. And here you've tiled the table with the same
Yeah.
tile that's on the bar, which is pretty cool.
Mhm. You know what I think it's important to remember, like in a big space, if you want it to flow, is to keep introducing the same elements throughout the space. If you were to walk into the restaurant, it's kind of like a train station. It's very long and rectangular.
Mm-hmm.
And if you 75% of it, you look to your right, is going to be that blue and white tile. It's very dominant.
Yeah,
I didn't want the left side of the restaurant to fall flat. We needed to bring that blue and white back in over there. So this
right.
table's kind of off to the left side, and it was just a way to just reintroduce the blue and white again.
Yeah.
So your eye flows around the space.
And then you've paired it with this gorgeous oil painting and another one of these light fixtures that's got kind of rope for a shade.
Yes.
And again, composition. This is a great composition.
Yeah, what I love so much about hotel or small restaurant design is how they mix lighting in one
Okay.
space.
Yep.
You'll go into a great restaurant for dinner and you'll notice they have three or four lighting choices that all, whether it be sconces and pendants, they all work together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of these metal dome lights
Yeah.
that go throughout the restaurant and they're fine. They kind of fall in the back of your mind when you come in, but we needed now some warmth. So bringing in, we have about maybe 4 or 5 of the rope fixtures throughout the space.
Okay.
Bringing in that warmth, I think really helps balance the dome lights that
Yes. And
put
the
those
and
in
the
there.
painting, it brings in a lot of warmth too. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice to see real paintings in restaurants.
I know that was actually my grandmother was an artist, so that's her piece. So
Oh my
we're
gosh.
bringing in a lot of meaningful pieces in the space, and
Wow.
that's always my goal. I like to, when I'm working with a client, it's tell me your story, tell me your history. What can I bring into your home that's meaningful and
Right.
conversational?
Right. Absolutely. Well, I've really enjoyed looking through your work and talking
Thank
with
you.
you about what makes things work and why. And I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.